All right, Paul.
Testing, testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks.
And in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Jones. Joining me, as always, all the way in New York City, Paul Packler.
Yay! It's the first gorgeous day in New York City. It's sunshiny. I can hear children playing outside my window, and I decided to spend it with you two. I'm looking right now, and I see girls in bikinis. But no, I want to talk with you two.
Hey, Al Roker, are you talking to the studio audience? What's going on out there?
100th birthday to Lynn Mendepelson. Yes, Lynn Mendepelson. She turned 115 today.
Speaking of 100th birthday, Corey Pepper, how's it going?
It is the 1,621st nice day here in Los Angeles.
Yes, that's true.
And I see women in bikinis all the time, and out of them as well.
Oh! It is just a walking, talking Beach Boys album in California.
It is.
Absolutely, absolutely, including the nervous breakdowns.
Oh.
I know.
Oh, did you guys see the trailer for that new biopic about Brian Wilson?
Brian Wilson?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Oh,
And John Cusack so doesn't look like Brian Wilson.
No. Paul Dano looks great.
He looks
but
great.
He looks perfect, and even, I think he's even singing like Brian Wilson. It's actually his singing in there. So
Wow.
yeah, but yeah, John Cusack looks nothing like Brian Wilson.
No.
All right, guys. So, if listeners, if you're playing along at home and watching these on Netflix, we are on Season 1, Episode 14, The Fugitive, Part 1. That's right. It's our first two-part episode. And we're going to, and it starts off with Mallory is...
and bury the lead. This is Tom Hanks, ladies and gentlemen.
This is Tom freaking Hanks is on
Wait,
this
that
show.
was Tom Hanks in this episode?
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Wow.
Academy Award winner.
That's a two-time Academy Award winner.
Two-time Academy Award winner. Nicest man in Hollywood, Tom
Wait,
Hanks.
three-time? Three-time? For Philadelphia and
No,
what else?
Two-time.
Forrest Gump.
But
not for Apollo 13?
No.
No.
Nor for Castaway or The Money Pit, shockingly enough.
Or Joe versus the Volcano.
No, didn't win for that either.
Or The Burbs.
Or The Road to Perdition.
Oh.
I love
this disappointment.
You didn't like Road to Perdition? I love Road to Perdition.
No.
We'll talk on another episode about that. But yes, Academy Award winner Tom Hanks is on this episode. He is playing Uncle Ned, Elise's brother. And the start of this episode is the family is, or Mallory's watching Chips in the living room, and Alex is commenting on the TV show. They're all waiting for Uncle Ned to arrive. It was weird. Was Chips still on at this time?
Chips was still on and was an NBC show, so that was an NBC slam.
That
was
was
pretty ballsy on Gary David Goldberg's part.
Yeah.
Sort of biting the hand that feeds you.
It was very Simpsons-esque, where they'll take some punches at their own network. I kind of like
little Eric Estrada joke from Mallory. And a Chips joke on Michael J. Fox's part.
Yeah.
A personal anecdote about Chips is that I loved it as a small child, and I had a little tricycle, and so I'd be riding around, and my grandfather, who was a carpenter, fashioned a wooden little walkie-talkie, and so I would ride around, and people would ask me, "Paul, who are you?" And I would say, "Punch and John," because I thought that was one person.
That might be the cutest thing I've ever heard, Paul.
It's true.
I just want to focus on the fact that you said your grandfather was a carpenter. Don't I see that on a bumper sticker? No, I see my father was a carpenter, or my savior was a carpenter.
My savior was a carpenter.
That's what it was. And it was a Jewish. My savior was a Jewish carpenter.
Right. No, my grandfather was Italian, so and I don't think he saved anybody from anything.
Was he fucking Geppetto? What is this? An Italian carpenter?
Look, you never noticed my arms are not actually.
Wait a second. And you did play. Yeah,
I wasn't in sync for a while.
And you did play Pinocchio, Paul.
I did on a tour of our Southern
Children's Theater Tour.
Yeah. Oh, man, if you ever wanted to see the South, go on a children's tour and get very depressed.
Yep. So the family's all excited because Uncle Ned is coming over, and it's really well established. You already, before he even comes in the room, you get the idea that Uncle Ned is that kind of uncle, the fun-loving uncle, the one that you're always excited to come over and that's gonna play with you, hang out with you, a lot of
drink
excitement.
alcohol with you.
Yeah, exactly. Drink alcohol, buy you beer,
Yeah.
Really cool Uncle Ned. And
he's so cool that they didn't dress up for his visit, as they have in the past two.
Right, for other visits.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The times they are a-changing.
Yep. Nothing's as formal as it used to be at the Keaton household. It's gone to hell. So knock at the door. We get Uncle Ned, and there's something very, very interesting about this entrance. All right, we see Academy Award winner Tom Hanks before he's won any awards or anything like that. He has done Bosom Buddies, but he comes in shaking hands. That Tom Hanks charm. I mean, I love Tom Hanks' 80s comedies. He's awesome. But there's this moment, he's shaking hands, and then after he's already like 3 steps into the living room, there's a swell of applause. A huge swell of applause. And Corey, you had some insight.
Well, I just thought it was very strange. It sounded like it was canned, first of all. It sounded as though it wasn't really a studio audience. It sounded like something they sweetened the track with. And it's sort of bizarre. Recognition applause is something that I'm used to in a theater on a stage. But it's sort of weird for television to get recognition applause, and it's especially weird considering all Tom Hanks had done up to this point was 13 weeks of a failed ABC sitcom.
Bosom Buddies did not. I mean, it seems to have a tall. Like to me, growing up watching it for that whatever like reruns it was on, it seemed to have cast a large shadow. But really, it was like a season, and then they barely had a second season.
That's right. That was it. So it's sort of weird that the audience would go bananas, cuckoo, crazy. But according to the Gary David Goldberg book, they had now, and I don't know whether any of this is accurate. This is just according to Gary David Goldberg, that they had recorded this 2-part episode prior to when Splash was released. So they booked Hanks after Bosom Buddies was finished, prior to when Splash was released, and then Splash was released right before this episode aired, which catapulted Hanks into movie stardom. So they had to put in the recognition applause because we don't want to ignore the fact that now Tom Hanks is a big movie star.
It's huge.
Right.
It's huge.
Now, I'll say this. This episode aired in 83. Splash came out in 84. I feel like, because what happens is in the second season, the episode that audience members listening to us might have come here for was the Uncle Ned is an Alcoholic episode, which is in season 2.
Boy, Uncle Ned is a fuck-up, isn't he?
Oh
he's
yeah.
great.
I love him, though. I love Uncle Ned.
He is so real that it's blowing everyone's mind. Because it's like, remember how, like, perfect the Keatons are, where even in their Christmas picture, when they fuck up a Christmas picture, they take the perfect picture. Or when people are having family problems, the Keatons say, well, we actually aren't as fucked up as you. We take care of and we discuss issues that we are having. Uncle Ned is the real deal. I mean, he is a 3-dimensional human being amongst all of these archetypes.
He is, and he takes a very strong stand, which is very Elise-like.
Yes.
Yes. You see the parallels between their characters. Yeah.
But,
and at the same time, he also provides... And this, of course, is really the crux of this episode and the second part of it. But they really he provides them with a really solid yin and yang argument over everything that they do.
He blows this world up. He made me rethink everything about this show. This character
Absolutely.
did. Yeah.
Guys, quick editing note. Hold on 1 second. I have something come up really quick. Okay.
Oh, okay. You're all right?
I'm okay. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
He just has to go and work out a batch, I think, and then he'll come back relaxed.
He has to do a mirror exercise with some 8-year-olds. He has to figure out they're having problems.
He couldn't figure out which child to put in the next machine. Scott, can you come in and tell us? Should he go or should he go?
Stop. That's amazing.
Somebody said no, but Scott, get in here and discipline him.
Yes, and
slap that child. I don't care if your mother is there. Her check's no good with me anymore. Get rid of that child.
Wait, where is he? What school is he at? I don't know what the school is.
I have no fucking clue.
Okay, it's not Logan's school? Logan Hutch?
No, oh, really? Oh.
Doesn't he teach there still?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But at least they have a nice big room for him to do his podcast in, so that's really...
I know. He really lucks out. He has the best lighting of the three of us. He
he does. That
look
office
at that
is
chair
very
he's
good.
in.
We're working with natural light here.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what'd you think of the Star Wars trailer? Did you love it?
I did. I've gone through like so many stages of grief and guilt about Star Wars in the course of my life. I felt like I was in the perfect zone of having it like rip out my soul when I turned like 20, when the prequels came out,
right?
And you learn that life is going to be shitty for the next 50 years, and you're like, oh wow, everything I hoped for as a child doesn't count, and people are going to let you down, and so all of the nerds that are like upset or worried about the new Star Wars, it's like, guys, you need to calm down and get some perspective on life.
Yeah.
So
we've had 3 bad Star Wars movies. These could be good.
Yeah, they can only go up from here.
Mm-hmm.
They look fun. The cast looks really cool. That girl is really cute. Oscar Isaacs is the fucking man. If he sings a folk song, I'll probably just jerk off in the theater. That's.
Oh, I wish I had a lightsaber.
He's like, well, the Empire's back. It was really. It'll be like that scene in Cinema Paradiso where the kids are jerking off.
Oh my god. Oh, the Jawas are coming on home. All right. Okay, editing note, we are picking back up. All right. Let's take it from, what was the last thing that we said? Sorry, guys, I had to talk to a parent. They were wanting some information.
All right.
Isn't that funny? That's what we predicted.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll pick it back up. What were we saying about Tom Hanks?
Just that he's the best.
Yeah. All right. We'll just start with that. Okay. And picking up now. So yeah, and Tom Hanks, talking about how real this character is written, but Tom Hanks plays it so effortlessly, incredibly effortlessly. It's amazing.
He handles both light comedy and light drama very well, and he even handles when it goes from light drama into sort of you're not going to get very heavy in a sitcom no matter how you toss it. But he handles the dramatic portion in Act 2. I thought he handled that in Act 2 in the second part. I thought he handled that really well as well.
It's
without
a high
going
point
over
of the season.
top.
Yeah. I think it's a high point of the season. I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but yeah, the confrontation that he has when he reveals the secret of why he's there. To me, it's one of the best parts. Like Tom Hanks is. I didn't think anyone could out-charm Michael J. Fox in this series, but they are just neck and neck as far as who elevates the material that they're given, and that it's just when they're on screen, it's so dynamic and magnetic when you're watching them.
Well, according to the Gary David Goldberg book, after they did the first episode of The Fugitive, Michael J. Fox goes into Gary David Goldberg's office and he says, I want a scene alone with him in the second half of this.
Wow!
So they build it to the airport scene where really a lot of time alone with Tom Hanks.
Interesting.
That is amazing.
That's incredible.
They hit it off with each other. They felt the other one was very charismatic. They enjoyed working together. And personally, I thought that Hanks really raised, not that they needed to be raised, but Michael Gross and Meredith Baxter Birney's acting in this episode also was as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, and you can tell how much they like it because most of the jokes, don't go to Alex. They go to Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks gets the bulk of the humor in both.
But notice who gets the biggest goose egg out of this episode is Mallory.
Yeah.
She gets squeezed out of this episode and the next episode tremendously because they had to service Hanks.
It's like Grandpa Frank is visiting again. All right. So Uncle Ned has arrived. We discover a few things. One, that Uncle Ned works for a Fortune 500 company called Centram. He's kind of a head VP, and that he claims he is taking a vacation, which Steven finds to be weird considering he took a vacation not so long ago. And then Uncle Ned retracts, basically saying, well, I've been feeling burnt out. I'm taking more of a leave than a vacation. So already we get the feeling that we don't know exactly why Uncle Ned has arrived.
Right. And he lives in the big city, New York City, works at, like you said, Centram, which is the, quote, 12th largest multinational corporation in the world. And so, yeah, he is what Alex aspires to be, and we see that throughout the episode, that Alex is constantly hectoring him for, all the on-the-job stuff and what life is like working on Wall Street and being a young yuppie executive.
Yeah.
Well, since he's doing so well, wouldn't you be a little disappointed with snow globes as your present?
Good point, Corey. Good point. And it's automatic disappointment from the kids. They don't even try to pretend that, oh, thanks, Uncle Ned. They're like, oh, thanks. Yeah.
And did you also notice Jennifer appears to, and I know we spend way too much time for three straight men to talk about costumes, but Jennifer appears to have borrowed Mork from Ork's suspenders for this episode.
Yeah. Good eye, Corey. Good eye.
I don't quite get it. There's a lot of things in that costuming department I don't get.
If you were in the costuming department during this time of Family Ties, please contact us. We would love to have you on the show and talk to you about a few things. All right. Yeah, Alex puts Uncle Ned on a pedestal. It's almost for these two straight episodes, it's nothing but Alex almost seems panicked throughout this entire two-parter.
But
like, you got to tell me, Ned. You got to tell me.
When we talk about finding a conflicting character, I thought that this was a great creation on their part of finding the perfect conflicting character to Alex. Whereas on the outside, it may seem as though this is what Alex B. Keaton aspires to, but when you really get into it, Ned is much more like Elise than he is like Alex.
Yeah.
Totally. And I feel like if we were going to project this into the future, because I might be doing that later in this episode when we discuss Steven, is that I feel like Alex will become more like Ned. I feel like he'll go more leftward in his politics when he moves to New York because, spoiler alert, the sitcom's been out for 30 years. Final episode, Alex moves to New York City and becomes a banker on Wall Street. I feel like that Alex will become more like this when he gets older. When the ideology and the right-wing stuff that he believes in now, when he comes, down to brass tacks, he'll become more like Ned.
Yeah.
Other than Tea Partiers, isn't that basically true of almost everyone involved in politics? That to actually make something happen, the left-wingers have to become more centralized, and the right-wingers have to go more towards the central also. And I think that's what's going to happen to Alex, too. He'll move just a little bit more towards being a centrist than to be all rightertons.
Totally. And that's what's surprising me so far is, as we watch this and go along, is how right-wing Steven actually is beneath it all, and how left-wing Alex B. Keaton is beneath it all.
Absolutely.
So,
So
But yeah, the other thing about the snow globes that Ned gives to all the family, and he's juggling like Tom Hanks can juggle. He is so
Yes.
charming. He's so charming.
he is. You just like, oh, I
He
want to go.
pulls out.
Be there. I wanted a snow globe.
Yeah, he makes them delectable looking. He pulls out one for Steven, and it's broken and empty. And he's like, sorry, Steven, and hands him the 2 broken pieces. But, Ned, your bag is now filled with water and
Snow.
But he knew it was funny. Tom Hanks knew it was funny, so he's going to play the...
Yeah.
I love Tom Hanks. Okay, so they all sit down at dinner, and again, all the formality. You're right, Paul. All the formalities are gone. They don't go to the dining room like they did when Grandpa came over. No one's dressing up.
They're
A
in the
goose
kitchen.
isn't cooked. They just have a sit down at the kitchen. Ned doesn't get all the fancy stuff. And this is where we get a couple of phone calls. The use of the classic Keaton phone. That are just
This episode had me counting phone calls. By the way, there were so many.
The mark of a
phone
good
calls.
episode.
I started
Counting how many phone calls.
making hash marks on my paper. It was like, by the way, the over/under was 4 on this episode. Yes, 4 phone calls.
Wow. And they're all concentrated into like a scene and a half.
Yep.
yeah.
The other thing I want to say is about Tom Hanks's appearance in this 2-part episode, or the 2 episodes, is that I think they are actually predicting every film that Tom Hanks will make for the next 25 years.
Really?
Follow me along as we go through this.
Oh, we
but
will.
He
Okay.
says that he doesn't cook a lot in his apartment in New York since the fire. Now, when did we know about fire and cooking in Tom Hanks's life?
Joe and the volcano.
No, in Castaway. Remember, he had to make a fire.
Fire in Castaway. Okay.
I have made fire. And so that is case number 1.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. Oh, that's just case number 1. Okay. I thought you had
It's
more.
going to be multi-part. Yeah. This
Oh,
is
okay,
Other
there's a
instances
okay.
to back this up.
Oh,
Does he eat
I have, like,
boxes of chocolates at some point?
Yeah, he has.
Oh, he does talk about baseball with Jennifer, and you know.
Boom!
I know. Yes, I did see that. I was like, did you guys want him to say there's no crying in baseball? Did you just
Absolutely.
want her to tell that to Jennifer? Oh.
When he was
oh,
getting
I
all
was so
hyped up
happy
about
that-
baseball, I thought, oh, come on, stick in there's no crying in baseball, even though it would be a prognostication of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paul, in the alcohol episode with Uncle Ned, did we find out that he has AIDS?
No, but the
Okay.
first thing...
Just curious. Just wondering.
Number two of my list of reasons that this is predictive is that when he says, I'm in trouble to Elise and Steven, she goes, are you sick? And I was like, Stephanie...
Philadelphia!
The first thing she thinks of is New York, thin, single, in the 80s. He's got AIDS.
He's got AIDS. Oh. Well, the first phone call that we get in the kitchen is from Allied Airplanes, and they're asking for a man named Stanislaw. And Steven answers it saying there is no one named Stanislaw, and Tom Hanks runs over to the phone and does a hilarious Russian accent pretending to be Stanislaw.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying that his flight he's canceling his flight. Something like that.
I don't know what's going on there. It's a weird thing where he's like, this and that. I find so. This is a number 3 of examples. Funny Russian accent, airport, the terminal.
The terminal!
See, this is not so crazy, you guys.
Oh, okay, Paul. So between your theories on Tom Hanks and your theories on Teen Wolf, the Teen Wolf, predictions, do we think Gary David Goldberg was like some weird seer where he could
He had
see
a
into
crystal
the future?
ball, yes.
Yeah, he was like, I see what's gonna happen with these actors.
It's true. Ubu could predict the future.
I didn't realize it, but I have in my notes that in the second act of this first episode, the FBI guy says, I am the captain now. How did that happen? How did they know?
Wow.
See?
It's all
Get
there.
Oliver Stone on this. Get Oliver Stone on this.
Get Oliver Stone. Oh,
The other thing about this Russian thing is that
Yeah.
he finishes the call, Tom Hanks does, and goes, da, by mir bist du schön. And it's like, well, that's
It's Yiddish.
German.
It's Yiddish, I believe.
Oh, it's okay. All right.
Yeah, he's
So,
just
I
mingling
thought that was
accents.
weird.
Yeah.
It's a little Jewish joke for Gary David Goldberg.
Right.
And the second, and so the second call was one Tom Hanks made. Now, already the Keatons are a little bit like, what's going on here? We don't get this. And he's trying to explain that, I don't want the company to know I'm here. They'll be calling me. But then he says, I have to get up and make a phone call. Now, he's trying to keep a secret about why he's there, but he makes the most secretive cloak and dagger phone call you could possibly make in front of somebody.
And who's he calling?
Yes! Yeah, we never did find out who's he calling and why.
Who's he calling? Why is he making a phone call?
Yeah, how big does this...
Wouldn't it be best for you not to make a phone call?
Yeah, and how big does this conspiracy go? Like, who else is involved? We never find out.
Yeah.
The FBI knows about this?
Yeah. And basically what he says is, the Falcon has landed. The fat man walks alone. I repeat, the Falcon has landed. The fat man walks alone. Very 70s cloak and dagger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did Dan Rather have his incident yet with that guy on the street?
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yes, what's the frequency, Kenneth?
What's the frequency, Kenneth? I don't know if that had happened yet. That'd been awesome if that was paying homage to that.
Yeah.
And so the scene kind of ends right there, really. Or the family walks alone. Yeah, there's just this look of bewilderment from the Keatons, and we cut to the next morning, and Michael J. Fox is wanting to know all about the corporate world, once again putting Ned on this huge pedestal. And there was a great joke of where he says, "What's the most exciting part about being in your business?" And he goes, "I have 2 secretaries." And Maurice goes, "You crushed his dreams." And Tom Hanks, perfect delivery. Hopefully, I've created new ones.
Now, the weirdest part of this, I mean, that's a funny joke, obviously, but you see Tom Hanks crack an egg into a bowl, and then he's whisking the eggs.
Yep. And then he drinks it.
He drinks it after the punchline, where he goes, "I hope I've created some new ones." He pulls it out, and then you watch him lick raw eggs. What?
Paul, this was the moment that I went, are the inmates running the asylum? Somebody explain to me why they let him do that. It made no sense.
Well, I'll say this, because I just didn't know a heck of a lot about Bosom Buddies in retrospect. And so I was reading about it on Wikipedia, and the big thing was that the show itself, they hated the premise. Everyone hated the premise who worked on it.
It's a bad premise.
They thought it was stupid that they were dressed in drag and that all the women didn't realize it, blah, 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 blah. But the big thing that made the show any type of critical acclaim or success during its one season was that Peter Scolari and Tom Hanks improvised a lot of the stuff they were doing.
Oh, okay.
And so I feel like that was probably a Tom Hanks ad-lib, improvisation, whatever, but it's just so weird that it flies in the face of the punchline that you just delivered. It undercuts it, but in a weird and interesting way. I just thought it was really strange, and I was like, all right, I'll applaud that.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, I just kept thinking, it's like, man, do they love their food on Family Ties? What they
sure
stock
do.
there's a lot of activity with food, and none of it really is used correctly, or it's just overstuffed. Like they'll pour orange juice and take one little sip and leave that orange juice there. They'll eat raw egg. I think at one point on the table, there's like tons of breakfast cereals that no one touches. Like it's they went nuts with the food on this show.
There's also a very bizarre pattern of the Keatons and Tom Hanks at some point in this episode or the second part of this one, bringing out cereal, milk, and yogurt.
It's in the second one, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yogurt to them means left-wing liberal.
Really?
Interesting.
I have no other explanation for it. Why is this family constantly bringing yogurt out? Plain yogurt, too. Not like a little Dannon fruit on the bottom, but like a big tub of plain white yogurt and dumping it into their cereal, which there's milk on the table. So you wouldn't put milk and yogurt. Why don't you add some butter and cheese while you're at it and have a dairy farm in your bowl? I don't get it.
Maybe, wait, I mean,
milk and yogurt in the same cereal.
I was too young. Maybe milk was like the hummus of the 80s. Like nowadays, the past 10 years, everyone in New York, you're like, oh, what kind of hummus? How do you make this great hummus? And
it's a great hummus.
Back then it was Dannon and Yoplait.
Oh, you got yogurt? Exactly. Oh, fancy. Oh.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's affected. She's very affected, and she calls Dannon Dannon because it was originally a French company. She goes, oh, you're having some Dannon. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Wow.
And once again, there is another phone call. I think
Bernice.
3. Yeah, from Bernice, Elise's friend. But Ned runs over to it and covers the phone with a rag. Ned is horrible about keeping whatever secrets he has secret. He's horrible at this.
If Edward Snowden worked this way, he would have a bullet through the brain.
Yeah. That's funny, Paul, because I put the joke.
Citizen 4, just the way that like Edward Snowden logs on to Gmail or Pornhub. If Tom Hanks could learn a thing or two from Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul, do you think we could get Pornhub to sponsor us? Because it's the second week in a row you've mentioned Pornhub. And I'm thinking,
lonely.
I don't know, we're grasping at straws. Maybe Pornhub might be interested in being our sponsor.
Should we take a break for commercial and give some ad time to Pornhub?
Sure. Hey, Fanboy Comics, can you get on this?
All right, want to rub one out? Take a break.
All right, we're back.
Yep.
Now I don't know. The ads get added later on, so hopefully you just heard some kind words from Pornhub.
Or if not, take some time to rub one out. That's fine with us too.
That's it. Take a little break.
All right. Okay, so after this phone call, Elise kind of confronts Ned, and we find out part of the reason why he's there. Ned reveals he was fired.
Yes.
And that now the company is after him because he created a scene by pouring coffee on the president's head over issues with a merger that his company was having that was going to put a lot of people out of business.
Right.
It was sort of like NBC, Comcast, Time Warner today.
Yeah.
Where you're going to merge these enormous companies, and as these things go, people lose jobs during a merger.
Yes. I think that what they were doing here was sort of doing a dumbed-down version of what venture capital and how that works. It was actually something that Mitt Romney invented in the late 70s at Bain Capital. It was a big thing that came up in the 2012 election, and when we advertised this episode, I'll be putting up a Rolling Stone article that examines the history of venture capital. And so I feel like what they're doing here is explaining how leveraged buyouts and then what's it called? Shit, I had it written down. You load it with debt. And like the company that buys a smaller company loads it with debt and then takes fees on their restructuring. And so then it's just like it's almost like a fire sale. I mean, I'm doing a lot of mixing.
Do you load it with debt to devalue that company?
Yes.
It's a little, it's kind of that. I mean, what they're doing and discussing in this episode is a little bit different, but it's sort of the same thing, where it's like, it's what happened with KB Toys, if you remember that in the mall.
Yep.
Bain Capital bought KB Toys. They said they weren't making enough money and that they would restructure. And so in order to do so, they take on restructuring fees where they're going to tell them, here's how you should work your business and this and that. And they end up loading it up with so much debt that the small company can't repay it. And so all they're doing is just constantly paying the companies that are telling them how to fix themselves when they really had no problems to begin with. And that's what makes them then go out of business. And then the original company then gets to help them through closing down. And so that's what they are talking about in this. It's actually what they talk about in the 1987 Oliver Stone movie, Wall Street.
Wall Street, exactly. Basically, the idea being you make the company not profitable so that it then becomes a huge tax write-off, making you money.
Right.
So the loss is what makes you money. That on their
Exactly.
taxes, on their corporate taxes, they can call this whole acquisition a loss, and it comes off of their gross income of what they're making.
Right.
So it balances the ledger.
On top of all those fees they're collecting, too. So not only do they get all those fees while they're trying to work with the company, they already know we're going to make this a loss, and they get even more money by writing it off as a tax write-off.
So you buy a horseshit company, and you make it more horseshit before you write it off.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the same thing the mob does. Honestly, it's the mob but with better suits. That's how they describe it.
It's a white collar thing as opposed to a mob thing.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
So that's what the issue that they discuss in this episode that Ned is upset by and that he doesn't want to be a part of, and that's why he embezzles money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the way that they explain it, though it's a dumbed-down version of how venture capital works, they do a really good job at explaining how it works, what they're discussing.
Yeah, it's and very, very effectively, too, in that small amount of time. They really explain what Ned's going through in a way that's completely understandable.
Right.
This first scene in Act 2 also features phone call number 5 for the episode, which is Pussycat?
Pussycat.
That's what I wrote down, Pussycat. Yes. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Remember what this is?
Steven makes a joke of, when is going to be the end of this cloak and dagger? And the phone rings. And Steven, there's this long pause. Steven goes over to the phone and listens, and he goes, "Pussycat, Pussycat, where are you?" And Ned goes, "Tell them I'm in London. You know what? Just let me do it. Let me." So, yeah. It's a good fit.
Amazed. I have to be honest. I'm amazed, Corey, that you wrote the word after pussy. I feel like I'm amazed that you stopped.
I made sure that I wrote it, or else I really would have been confused if it had said phone call number 4, pussy.
See, Pornhub, we're perfect for you. All right. Okay, so then there's we go to the next day, and again, we mentioned this earlier. Ned is talking to Jennifer about baseball. He's upset. Yeah, he's upset that she wanted to quit the game, even though it was tied. And God, did we want him to say there's no crying in baseball?
Yeah, it's like nighttime, and she was tired, and he's like, "You play tired. That's how the game works."
Yeah, and, like, there's no crying in baseball. I was just waiting for it.
And then he wouldn't be a Keaton if there wasn't some like veiled racism. When he goes, "What a jip." So, there's that.
There's that. Okay, and now we get to kind of the meat of the story where the next day, Alex, no, it's not the next day, I'm sorry. Alex comes out, wants to talk to Ned, bugging Ned some more. And then they look at Mallory comes in and says, and this is probably the only thing Mallory serves for these 2 episodes, is to let them know that there's a government car pulling up, and that the FBI is here. Mm-hmm. And Ned takes off. He says, "Hey, I gotta go get some ice cream, some groceries. Talk to you later." He heads out, and the Keatons go into the living room, and
before we do that, just one more thing. Like when he comes into the scene with Jennifer after having played baseball, he's wearing a mask, the protective baseball mask. When Alex comes in to discuss business with him and everything, he takes the mask off and throws it into the fridge to get a laugh. Just a nice little, Tom Hanks ad-libby type thing.
Interesting. So I didn't catch that either. That's a really good fit.
Yeah. You know what? Pause for a second. Corey, we lost him, so...
Just saw. Pausing right now. We don't even need to stop. Okay. I can invite him right now. All this is in one take. We should be good. We'll get Corey back with us.
I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom.
Sounds good. Holding for editing. There you are.
There I am.
Paul's coming. He had to use the bathroom.
Paul's coming? Yeah, twice.
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 You know, just like the milkman. He always comes
Well,
twice.
he comes twice.
He comes twice.
Oh, I remember those days.
Ah.
Not to be young again.
Period. Period. All right. So we're talking about the FBI coming over.
Okay.
Right, and picking up now. So they answer the door, and we meet this very interesting FBI agent. I don't have his name. Do you guys have his name?
Richard Venture.
Richard Venture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the character's name is Bert.
He was a stage
Bert
actor, and he did a lot of hour-long dramatic stuff. Clearly, cops and government guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Still
But
alive,
the
believe it or not. He's 91 years old now.
Oh wow,
Wow.
still alive. Wow.
The character's name is Bert Carlyle.
Bert Carlyle. The writing of this character was really interesting to me. I mean, I got the fact, the first thing I wrote down was, yeah, I get it. There's probably not a lot for the FBI in Columbus, Ohio to do, so this is a big deal for them. And he's impressed that he knows everybody's name, that he gets it right, even though he has it written down right in front of him in a book.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was a really strange joke.
I feel like they're doing a Columbo knockoff. Like they're just like,
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Sure.
Yeah.
His tie is loose.
Askew and yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like with these left-wing parents and, Gary David Goldberg, I don't know, it feels like a thing where every time we meet a cop or an FBI agent or whatever, they always make them excessively nice. Like when Stephen and Elise got arrested on Thanksgiving, the cop that was putting them into the jail was like, they were like, can't you just leave it unlocked? He's like, yeah, well, that's not really how we work here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's annoying. I don't like that all the cops are all nice guys. It annoys me.
You want a good asshole cop.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of business before we really get down to why he's there about the FBI and how things, like their files and everything. Like they're not really talking about why he's there for. It seemed like for a long time. Just a lot of business before they got to the point. Mm-hmm. And there was a line. I didn't have time to research it, but there's a big applause line.
Yeah, I have that question written down too.
The new policy line.
Right.
There's a huge applause.
Huge reaction. I was wondering if Paul. I thought to myself, gee, Paul will know the answer to this.
I did too. Paul.
Well, I feel like I didn't look up specifically that there was a new policy of only arresting people who had committed crimes. But I mean, I feel like that's not a law that came out in '81 or something. But like, with the church hearings about assassinations that happened in 77, 78, where they looked into the Kennedy assassination, they looked into Robert Kennedy's assassination, and also Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. That's when we found out a lot of what J. Edgar Hoover had been doing with the FBI, collecting secrets on people, assassinating heads of other countries, things like that. That all came out in the 70s and late 80s. And combining that with how the country just had the rug pulled out from under it with Watergate and Vietnam, I feel like you had a big distrust of federal government. And obviously, Reagan capitalized on that hugely in order to turn the country much more rightward. And so I feel like that applause line of being like, you can't trust the FBI is sort of all of that mixed together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go with that. That's a good analysis. See, this is why you're the head of our research, Paul.
Mm-hmm. Even when I didn't do the research, I can bullshit my way through it.
Don't tell us this bullshit. We're just gonna go with it. So basically, we find out, like he wants to know where Ned is, that the company Sintram is looking for him because he embezzled $4.5 million. Whoa.
That was it. That was a great. You sounded exactly like Bert Carlisle.
Did I? Thank you. Thank you. Good. That's what I was going for.
I'm not sure there's much money in impersonating Richard Venture.
There goes my one-man show. Great.
Exactly. An evening with Richard Venture.
An adventure with Richard Venture.
And then I did Family Ties. I played Bert Carlisle.
Remember this one? Whoa! But also to find out that, and the Keatons deny that they know where he is, even though they do. And Stephen asks, hypothetically speaking, if we did and didn't tell you, what would happen? Well, you'd be harboring a fugitive, and that you'll be doing some jail time. So, and then we end this episode on quite possibly one of the worst cuts ever I've seen on television. The FBI agent leaves his card. They pick it up, look at it, with that we got a decision to make look on their face, and the camera zooms very bumpily onto the business card. They close this episode zooming in on a business card from the FBI.
It looks like me filming a wedding. That's how the zoom is.
That's a perfectly good enough. It looks like someone who doesn't know like a kid operating a camera.
Mm-hmm. It zooms in too fast. It doesn't focus fast enough. It's very strange, very amateurish for a television show.
Yeah,
this is 2 years after The Shining, and this is how TV is.
And yet, I thought they actually ended on a solid, dramatic, here's trouble now for the whole family.
Yes.
Because Elise and Stephen simply don't, they have children. If you have children, things are sort of kind of different. Why would you want to risk getting in trouble or getting your children in trouble, even for your brother, but especially when he's embezzled $4.5 million?
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And this is really high stakes you got. I mean, this is like you can draw a straight line from this episode to Breaking Bad when you don't know if Hank is going to get killed in the shootout with the Nazis. It is straight line.
Yeah. Do we know? Yes. And that leaves us with questions. We have a cliffhanger, guys. Will the FBI find Ned? Will Stephen and Elise go to prison? Will Mallory be included in this episode? We don't know.
Will Batman find Liberace?
Will Pornhub sponsor us?
You'll just have to come back next week on Quality Time with Family Ties.
Same quality time, same quality channel. Well, gang, please be sure to rate and review us on iTunes, and be sure to like our Facebook page as well. For all your questions and comments, email us at gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Qtwft for all our updates. And all of us are on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep.
We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanboy Comics. Fanboy Comics is an online conglomerate of geek media, providing its readers with daily reviews, interviews, and podcasts that span the pop culture. Check them out at Fanboy Comics, www.fanboycomics.net. Also, we want to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the Family Ties theme song without us. Be sure to check out Perry's website, perryadams.com. Also, we'd like to thank Brian Dillon, who created our fantastic drawing and artwork, as well as edits our show. Brian is the president and co-founder of Fanboy Comics. Follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. And also, thank you to Sean Foster, Fanboy Comics graphic designer, for designing our logo. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye! All right, and we are